What's up, it's Cat Lover, let's dive right in. 2017 was an amazing year for gaming. It was a year that a lot of video games I'm still in love with came out. Persona 5, Nier Automata, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Cuphead, Super Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and finally Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania was the game a lot of Sonic fans have been waiting for. It was 2D, and a classic style, and brought back many levels, whether they were popular or infamous. It was something that gave a lot of fans hope for the future of Sonic games, and with how good it was, a lot of people's standards peaked, including mine. Sonic Mania was made by fans and was supposed to directly cater to fans, particularly classic ones. It's a great experience that I love to death, and I'm happy to replay for this video. So with that being said, how has it held up over the last 7 years? Let's discuss. I've said like 100 times before that Green Hill Zone is super recycled, but never has it been this good. In my Sonic 1 video, I mentioned something about Green Hill Zone feeling too empty and like there's not enough to do, but in Sonic Mania we have quite a bit to do now. Act 1 starts off nice and slow, much like the original Green Hill, but takes a sharp turn a little less than halfway through the act. You'll see many elements and sections from all Green Hill Zone acts in Act 1, but also key differences. More breakable walls, faster sections, more hazards, and different obstacles to experience. More ways to explore also means more chances to get Chaos Emeralds, as Boomerangs are back and better than ever. It's Green Hill Zone, but with some of the tweaks I said would be necessary to make the zone feel more active and alive. Since Sonic Mania includes the use of elemental shields, it makes the zone feel that much more fun to play around with. The same old enemies are back, some even taking on different roles due to differing level design, and it makes this zone feel truly different. I also love that this level and the future ones will have different versions of the same song between acts like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, as it's always a treat to have more tracks to listen to. It makes the act feel that much more different from one another, as the atmosphere and environments almost always change drastically. That being said, the level is beautiful, and despite not much changing environmentally, it feels a lot more different than you'd expect. You can never go wrong with Green Hill Zone, and Sonic Mania proves this. I said before that Chemical Plant is high-speed fun with some risky platforming, and this revisitation of the zone is no different. Slopes and loops are plentiful, the same annoying enemies and hazards are back, and though the same chutes are available, you can choose the directions you go in. It makes going to different parts of the level and exploring to your heart's content easy and fun, as well as replayable in the future. Act 1 still has the same section of rising water and tricky platforming that horrified many children in the 90s, but there's something a bit off. If you're speeding to this section, which is most likely the case, you can get crushed on occasion as one of the platforms will be coming down. Even if you avoid dying instantly and make it up to the higher platforms, it's very likely to get clipped between platforms than it is in Sonic 2. It's definitely frustrating, especially if you're not expecting it. It could use some tweaks to eliminate it altogether. Even so, I enjoy the level design, and I really love the gimmicks present in the second act. The second act introduces hazardous liquid that you can inject with syringes and make malleable and bouncy. The stage also adds more to do with the bouncy goo, as you can stick to it to reach different parts of the level and progress. Acting fast rewards you with more items and things you'll need, such as rings and shields. Off note, the boss is absolutely amazing too. I've always loved Puyo Puyo and Mean Bee Machine, so the boss hit all the right marks for me. The zone may not be perfect, but it's still solid and fun. The game's first totally original level. Studiopolis is beautiful, exciting, and one of the few breaths of fresh air in a game full of revisited levels. I really like the level, as it makes me feel like I'm having more fun than I am avoiding enemies. Sure, it's not all relaxation, as there's some platforming here and enemies to watch out for there, but all of it is fair to get past if you react fast enough. The background is full of color, and animations on the TV are addicting to watch. It really puts into perspective what a classic-styled Sonic game could look in a modern era, and the many things players can look forward to. The zone itself is very unique, with a theme around television and news, putting more emphasis on Eggman's ego. Things around a level that are designed to help you progress further, such as zapping between satellites and zooming through electrical currents, are such a stylish way to push the player forward. Sections of the game, including loops with secrets hidden in the walls, really remind me of a lot of the levels in previous Sonic games. There's so much to explore and find in this level, and it makes replayability not just a possibility, but damn near essential. Definitely the level full of the most finesse, for now. I'll be honest, I haven't always been the biggest fan of Flying Battery. It's not a bad zone by any means in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but I just thought it was a bit lackluster with too much platforming. Even so, Sonic Mania made me enjoy the zone a little more than I previously did. There is still platforming above certain death and plenty of obstacles that require elemental shields, but in different ways. The electrical shield can be used to hang upside down on platforms as you're being magnetized by electricity, and platforming above bottomless pits isn't as scary this time around. This level likes to combine a lot of gimmicks, including the poles you swing on earlier in the level and platforming hazards. You also get to see the pilot of the Flying Battery, the squirrel or chipmunk, I'm not sure, and beat his ass. It's the little things like this that make me really enjoy the game. Also really like the different weather you'll see as you play between acts, as Act 1 is bright and sunny while Act 2 is dark and stormy. The wind physics for the outdoor sections while out in the rain is a treat as well. I still hold my opinion about Flying Battery, but I don't mind it in this game as much as I did in the original. Though Sonic Mania doesn't have a lot of original levels, they're all unique and ready to impress. Press Garden is no exception. The level design allows for speedy traverse, fun gimmicks to play with, and cute enemies. The zone is so distinct from all the others, and it plays with themes that you may have seen has Sega continue making this style of games. Creativity is off the charts, with earthy colors mixing with the newspaper/factory theme the level has going on. The massive differences the game provides between acts couldn't be more apparent here, as we go from a newspaper factory to an icy landscape. Both acts remind me of the levels present in Freedom Planet, down to the design and aesthetic. The enemies fit their environment, and I liked how the colors drastically change from earthy greens and browns to cold whites, blues, and pinks. It really makes you feel like you're in a completely different zone, with cherry blossoms, emphasis on architecture, and playing around with ice. It's surprising to see what this game could come up with and add in its levels. Overall, the level is extremely fun, creative, and beautiful. I've never played Sonic CD that much as I had no way to play it as a child, but Stardust Speedway is one of the levels in the game that had me immediately charmed. The environment is insanely gorgeous, with green vines wrapped around hues of gold. The sky is full of stars, and it makes the level feel almost galactic. The level looks special, like a combination of Aquatic Ruin and Mystic Cave. Anyway, Stardust Speedway has many slopes and loops that push you higher and higher into the level. It's fast-paced, but also requires the player to recognize where they are and where they want to go. The level design can be a bit confusing for newcomers, and I remember being somewhat stumped the first time I played this game back in 2018. The level provides a lot of fun sections, such as well-timed jumps and rolls to dodge certain enemy attacks. It has a lot to offer in terms of exploration, as it has no shortage of paths for you to go through. The second act has other environmental beauties, such as riding fireworks and using their explosions to travel higher. It's a good gimmick that works well and incentivizes exploration for players old and new. Stardust Speedway is one of the most iconic stages from Sonic CD, after all. Anyone who's watched my Sonic 3 and Knuckles video knows I love Hydro City Zone. The original is high-paced fun and fair bits of platforming, but this version of the level is at least the first act. This one has many iconic sections from the original, with running on water and speeding down loops, but also tries to add more creativity to the level. This includes traveling on a boat, weird temporary bubble shields that you can control, and the spears from Labyrinth Zone. The level tries to put more emphasis on taking your time and exploring despite still being fast-paced, and I can appreciate its attempts to prioritize both. Even so, the first act is spent mostly underwater, and it puts too much focus on platforming. It feels very slow-paced and not as fun as the original first act. It does introduce neat ideas though, like pulling on hooks to drain or flood water in the level to help you move along or get to different places. It's a new, fun way to play around with the level's design, and it really helps you reach the paths that you want. There is more maneuvering around obstacles and hazards such as spikes and ceilings, and since there are shifting grounds that move up, being quick is also important. Act 2 reminds me of the original, and it has the high-speed fun that I was looking for in the zone. It doesn't ever feel that awkward or confusing either, which is a plus. Hydro City is a fine zone for the midway point, and just shows you that the game still has tricks up its sleeve. Mirage Saloon starts off a bit iffy, with the auto-scroller on a plane just like in Sonic 2. These types of levels aren't exactly my favorite, as like I said, I prefer to go at my own pace as much as possible, but this level makes the most of it. Sure, it's mostly just standing around and waiting for things to happen, but I find it to be more entertaining than Sky Chase since there's more to look at. There's desert as far as the eye can see, and though you're in the air for a while, there's still a lot to experience. From enemies to actual bosses taking place on the plane, much of it is needed to make it feel like a level rather than an obstacle. Once you're on ground level, the level gets a lot more active. It isn't Mirage Saloon for nothing, as you get to spin across bar stools and be shot out of guns. The aesthetic of the overall level is top-notch, the music being my favorite in the whole game. The Wild West and cowboy-esque feeling of the level isn't something I expected to be explored in a Sonic game, let alone a 2D one, but it's very welcome. Oil Ocean isn't a level I like too much in Sonic 2, and here that sentiment is the same, but I can tolerate a bit more in Sonic Mania due to the creativity it brings to the table. Of course, there's still parts of the level that I disliked in the original, such as trudging through oil and annoying enemies that seem to hit you no matter what you do, but it was a lot more mellow and felt a lot better to play through. The level design is much more tolerable and easier to move through, with fewer things that get in your way and more to experience in terms of exploration. The first act ends with Oil Ocean being lit on fire, and I found this to be a really cool gimmick. Another oddity brought on by this event, as you have to press switches to clear the smog, lest you want to lose all your rings. It's not exactly my most favorite thing in the world, as it reminds me of Sandopolis Act 2, but it's certainly not that distracting and can bring some tension to a generally calm level. It really makes you feel like things can change awfully quick. The sky is being clear one second and full of smoke the next, all because you killed one egg robo. Definitely makes you think of how your actions cause the zones to have reactions, but I digress. Still not the biggest fan of this level, but here I can easily tolerate it. Hate the boss though. Again, not a zone I expected to be back, and not one of my favorites either, but this zone is very fun in Sonic Mania. There are more loops, making it possible to go faster, and though the overall level design isn't much different from the original, there are additions that make the level feel fun. There are gates you can break through and mechs you can play around with. Not much can be said about Lava Reef, sadly, as the only thing it does differently is have somewhat different level design, but the gimmicks and environmental hazards are better utilized here than in the original, so I'll give it that. The level passes by in a flash, and by the time you blink, it's over. Metallic Madness is a level people love for very good reason. The gimmicks are superb, the level design is top-notch, and the all-around feeling of the level is unmatched. Playing with scale catapults and being able to go in the background and foreground at will is not only great as a treat, but as an exploration tool. The level brings all kinds of heat, including disappearing platforms and moving blocks that can crush you, but the best thing about it is being able to be zapped and turned tiny. It's insanely cute, honestly a pretty good feature that makes traversing across the map that much more fun and interesting. It's unlike a lot of things I've seen in any Sonic game that I've played, so to see it here is definitely a pleasant surprise. I wasn't too fond of Metallic Madness in CD, but here I can definitely see the hype for it. I'll be completely honest, I don't really like Titanic Monarch. It's the only original level from Mania that I dislike at all. The only saving grace of the level is the great music, but even that can't stop the frustration that builds up after being on this level for more than 30 seconds. The level design really prides itself on precision and maneuvering yourself just right so you can reach the paths necessary to complete the level. Normally this wouldn't be an issue, but it's how the game sets up these sections and the enemies that are present. There are enemies that spawn orbs around you that can hurt you, and you're only given a few seconds to react. A few seconds is plenty of time in Sonic terms, but when the level is working against you almost all the time, it's possible to get hit again, and again, and again. It is not fun to constantly have to regroup and try again, as you might fall down somewhere you've been working yourself up to. It's very annoying, and it feels like the level really overstays its welcome. Of course, the more fun levels are over before you can fully enjoy them, and the level with the most amount of BS is here to stay. The first act is actually some good fun, with a lot of platforming and introduction to annoying but overall unique enemies. Platforming in the first act feels good, fair, and not like a chore, unlike in Act 2. Act 2 feels a lot like a punishment with how easy it is to get killed, and it takes forever to get through, with the endless portals you can fall through. I do like the purple orbs you can spin around though, as I love jumping at just the right time, but again, there's not much I like about this level. At least the music and colors are great though. Sonic Mania is an amazing game that came out with other highly acclaimed games back in 2017. It's the kind of Sonic game I dreamed of, the kind I've been hoping for a while. I may have wanted to see way more original levels, but I really like what they've done with the ones they revisited. Everything is fresh, new, and a great experience, and even if it doesn't quite hit the mark every time, a good attempt is always made to keep players happy and entertained. What do you think? I'd love to hear your opinions. This is Cat Lover, it's been real. Peace.